Hello, my name is Timothy, and I want to introduce you Story Master Toolkit NIMS, or just NIMS. NIMS is a handout writing software for LARP games, and I want to make a short tour on NIMS. Let's go and start with some terms. We have characters on our LARP games, and we have stories for these characters. Master story is story master version of how story actually happen, and story adaptation is a character subjective vision of master story or story events. And handout is a player document with character information, story adaptations, and some extra information. So now I will show you the main NIMS workflow of creating handouts. So step 1. Master story. First of all, you need to invent a story. It is not necessary to make it too detailed, and here you can see an example of story, very short, based on Lord of the Rings. Let's imagine we finished with this story, and let's go to next step. Master story processing. In this step we need to make character list. In our story there are 5 characters, and we need to split story by events, where each event happens in one place, one time, and with same characters. There are 2 events in our story right now. First event is starting journey. Gandalf comes back from a long journey to Frodo, and then Sam over here, Gandalf's story. Gandalf catches Sam, so you know this story. And second event is meeting of Merry and Pippin, when Frodo and Sam meet Merry and Pippin on Acres. Making this processing is finished step 2, and we can proceed with adaptations. On previous step we make origin event description, and at this step we describe event subjective vision for each event participant. So for example, event 1, starting journey from Sam's point of view. I pulled at bushes and suddenly heard voices of Frodo and Gandalf. Event 2, from Frodo, event 1, starting journey for Frodo. Gandalf came back from a long journey and he was very anxious. And actually there should be description for Gandalf too. So we need to make these adaptations for all characters of all stories and events. And when we finish this step, we proceed with handouts. So we gather all adaptations for each character, make final proofreading, and make exports. For example, Sam, his vision of Ringkeeper story. Event 1, starting journey, as we can see on the previous step, and event 2, how they met Merry and Pippin. All this workflow can be shown in one picture. We have a story, we split it into events, we make adaptation of event for each event participant, and then we group these adaptations by characters and make export. Let's see it in NIMS. So, open NIMS. Here you are. NIMS has embedded game base as example. It is based on the Lord of the Rings. And let's go to characters page. On this page we make character manager, so we can create, rename or remove characters to your game. And this is the full list of characters. Let's select, for example, Frodo. And on the center you can see character profile. Profile is an important information for your game, which is related to character. Maybe it is important for us that Frodo is Hobbit and he is a male and maybe he has some specific weapon. For example, Aragorn has sword, bow and knife, and he should have it when he came to the game. And profile can be changed. You can change structure of profile on profile constructor page. You can add more items, you can remove some items, you can modify types of these items, whatever you want. And this is a very useful tool. So let's go to our workflow and open page stories and journey begins. Let's hide this one. Here we can see master story, step 1 of NIMS workflow. Here we have this text. We need to proceed with step 2. Let's go to events, and here we can see event 4 and event 6. These events we see in presentation as example of splitting master story. It is look the same. Characters. Usually there are not very many characters in each story, so we need to add specific characters to each story. And this is a list of characters which is related to this story. And we have inventory. This inventory is a story specific inventory. So it is important that Frodo receives his ring and Sting and Dwarven Mail from Bilbo in this story. For example, we may look at Fellowship of the Ring, and we have other inventories, so which relates to story. On finishing this story, they have this stuff. So usually it means that all this story happens before your game, and on the start of the game they should have all this inventory. Or for example, let's go to Arwen and Aragorn, and in this story Aragorn should have even star. And maybe masters need to prepare it for Aragorn. So let's go back to journey begins. Also we can switch character from one to other. Maybe by some reason there were Boromir instead Aragorn. Why not? In this case, Boromir will have the same inventory which was described for Aragorn. We make events, we make character list, and we need to connect them. This is presence. This is a list of events, and let's see at Frodo Journeys Begin. Which characters were there? There were Frodo, Gandalf, and Sam. Merry and Pippin's event. Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Sam. We need to check characters to the events. So maybe Bilbo goes here too, but actually not. We change our mind. We have this mapping, and this is full description of characters and event in story. Finally, we finished with step 2 of our workflow, and we may proceed with step 3, adaptations. Let's select our story by events and these two. So this is an origin description of event, and here we can see adaptations for Frodo, for Gandalf, and for Sam. They have differences. All characters may have different opinion, may have different information, different thoughts about event, and the same way described Merry and Pippin meeting. We can see more details here, and we can reuse some text, but with different accents in this text. And when you decide that adaptation is finished, you need to mark text finished. Just to know next time is it finished or you need to pay more attention to these adaptations. That's all for step 3. We may proceed with handouts. So let's hide all panels, to proofreading, and open Frodo's handout. This is handout formed by Journey Begins story. So it starts with Bilbo's birthday. Here we can see adaptation for Frodo, how Journey begins, and Frodo's adaptation, meeting with Merry and Pippin. And all these adaptations grouped together in this story. And in the same way we can see it for other characters. In proofreading mode you need to check texts for consistency, that all texts group together well. When you finish this step, you can go to export. Let's select partial export, select Frodo, and group events by story. Okay, let's open it. So this is embedded template of handout. This is character profile. This is inventory. Frodo have information what he should have, and Frodo's stories. First one is Journey Begins, and second one the Fellowship of the Ring. There is some difference in text because Journey Begins has adaptations and the Fellowship of the Rings has no adaptations. It is more rude description. And this is the basic workflow, which is enough to make your first game in NIMS. But NIMS have more features, and let's look at them. Let's go back, switch to adaptation mode. We may describe relations between characters. So here we can see relation of Aragorn to Arwen. His thoughts is my shiny, and reverse relation from Arwen to Aragorn is my taiga. You may describe only one relation, and if these characters meets in some event, you can see in which stories this happen. You should know when you make relation description some background of your characters. One more feature is character filter. Here we see table with profiles information. All profiles are here, and we can make filtering on it. So for example, we want to see only human and elf characters. So we have 8 characters here. And let's add more restrictions. Let's see who of them has bows. 3 characters have bows. Let's open groups, and make group Bowmans and save filter to group. And now this filter is saved as condition for group members, where group is Bowmans. Let's open groups and open Bowmans. We see filter and we see character list of this group. If you create new character which has bow and who is human or elf, he will be automatically be the member of this group. And if some characters lose his bow, he will be automatically excluded from this group. It means that there are no manual group member list. Group members are fully described by profiles of these characters. You can have some master description for group, for other masters which work with you. Maybe you have some. You can make some auxiliary groups. You may add some text for this group, and this text will be printed in handouts for group members. For example, something like that. This is also very useful feature in NIMS. Next features are related to information view. Simple one is timeline. For each event, you can specify exact time of event. You can select some stories and see how events of one story relate to events in other stories. Maybe you make some detective game and it is maybe very important for you. Another one feature is social network. Social network is a rather hard tool, so it is recommended to save database before drawing social networks. Here this is very small and it is not very interesting, but in real game it will look like this one. This is a real social network of game, which named Mad Max, and we can see some information from this point of view. We can see 4 groups of characters and we can see some intermediate characters. You may find some bottlenecks, you may find some social relations. So if we click on some character, we will see with whom he meets, who knows him. And you may, it is a dynamic, and of course you may add some coloring. So let's go back and add coloring by race. It is useful to better understand your game structure. One more feature of NIMS is story map. Story map is manually built schema of conflicts and interests in your game. You need to add active groups of your game here and add resources. Then you need to add relations between groups and relations of groups to resources. So for example, one ring is the resource, and light side want to destroy the one ring, dark side want to get the one ring, and neutrals want to use it. Some group may have some things about each other. light side want to destroy dark side, and dark side want to destroy light side. Also, you can edit, add some nodes, maybe add some weakness information. Let's name it one ring. Press OK. As you can see, schema was modified and extra information and nodes were added. It may be useful for several masters in one time, working in one game. Also, there are some extra features, but I will explain them in tutorials, in screencast tutorials later. Right now, one more thing is documentation. NIMS has documentation, and it describes all concepts, it describes all interface, all buttons, all labels, everything. For example, let's go to groups. We can see what is the concept, we can see examples, we can go to groups page and see all information about page. If you have any questions or difficulties in any time, you can use documentation to find something which can answer for your problems. So let's go back to our presentation. Skip this one. Frequently asked questions. Terms of usage. NIMS is free for commercial and commercial usage. We want to make game better. We hope NIMS will help people to make game better. There are several kinds of NIMS. First one is demo version on my site. So this is my site and this online demo. It is absolutely the same as offline NIMS. It is very good to first try. Second version is offline version. This is archives list. You need to download NIMS. This is the first release of NIMS in English. And unzip archive and run NIMS file inside. NIMS is working in modern browsers like Firefox and Chrome. Internet Explorer is not recommended for use. There are some broken things. There are extra information in archive, including documentation, presentation, and export templates if you want to customize export templates. The main restriction of offline version is single user. It is for single master. By this reason, we make server version for collaborative work on one LARP game. But we don't release it yet. But we can provide server on demand. If you want to make game these NIMS with your team, you need to write us and we will create server for you. It is free for now, but maybe it will be changed in future. We have 7 projects finished with server version and we have a dozen projects in work. If you want, write to me. More questions. NIMS core and translations are open sourced. I hope in future there will be more languages in NIMS support. But server sources are closed, at least because it is not released yet. Information about NIMS is available in documentation and in YouTube playlists. I plan to make tutorial screencasts in future. There are 2 main community groups. First one is Contact group for Russian speaking users and Facebook group for English-speaking users, so you are welcome in these groups. I wish you good mastering. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.